Hello, it's time for another Bedtime with Bandit. We're outside tonight, and we're outside at sunset because I wanted to see the colors all around me, the colors that God paints the world. Tonight's story is called God's Paintbrush. As I look at the sunset and the colors in the world, I often wonder, and I ask a lot of questions. I wonder, who is God, and where is God, and what does God think? What does God feel? I don't know, maybe you have questions too. The joy about this book is it's filled with questions, and I want to give you the permission to stop and pause and stop the story and to have conversations and ask questions of one another. This book is for the entire family, not just for kids. It's for everyone. I want to read a few notes from the author that are special to know before we go on. You know, when the book was first published, the author was asked, "Why do you think children like the book so much?" And one child replied, "Because it asks so many questions." You know, sometimes adults feel that they need to have all the answers, that they need to be in control, to find a solution to every problem. The lesson we have to learn from children is they realize that they're not in control of everything, and that the world is filled with mystery and wonder. They aren't afraid of questions until we make them afraid. You know, once a journalist asked the author, "Where are the answers to the questions in your book? In the back?" And the author responded, "No, the answers are inside of you." You know, this book is going to give you a glimpse of what is deep inside of you, and that's going to be a great gift. This could give you language to talk about your spiritual lives with one another. It may give you a chance to open a window into your souls. And it's going to encourage you to find faith in the everyday experiences of life. So here are a few tips and suggestions. Don't feel as if you must read the entire book in one setting. Remember that the most important thing is not finding any one answer, but the conversation. And remember, parents, that your children also want to hear what you think, and that there are no correct answers. Kids, remember that too. Share with one another the times in your life when you felt God's presence. You do not need to be theological experts. You don't need to know everything about God. Just say what you feel, and then spend time with the beautiful illustrations. Maybe you want to respond with questions by drawing their thoughts and adding to the book in your own special way. This book is for the entire family of all ages. Know that your different ages and stages are going to bring depth to the conversation. They're going to bring life to the journey. And the answers will grow and change as you do. So this is a great story to revisit. You know, we often tell children that God is everywhere. But our children and we are not everywhere. We are in a particular time and a particular place in our lives. And we need to talk to one another about where we are, so we can look in God's mirror and see what we see at that particular time and place. And then we'll be privileged to see a glimpse of God's colors in us. And we too will paint with God's paintbrush. Take time, listen to one another, ask questions, go deep. God's Paintbrush by Sandy Eisenberg Sasso, illustrated by Annette Compton. Sometimes I think the clouds are made of white balls of cotton yarn, God's way of painting pictures in the sky. And then a big wind comes and blows the picture away like a giant eraser. A sunbeam peeked in my window this morning and painted a rainbow on my wall. I think the sunbeam is God's paintbrush dipped in a watercolor sea, painting clouds and coloring our world. What color would you paint the world today? Sometimes I imagine when it gets very dark at night, the flowers, trees, mountains, and oceans are afraid. I wonder if God made the stars for them to go to bed with, and the moon to be their nightlight. When are you afraid? What makes you feel better? Sometimes when the clouds look gray and dark, I think they are angry or sad, and the rain, I think, is God's tears. Sometimes the ocean makes giant waves with foam on top. I imagine that pleases God, and God laughs. When the fizz on my favorite ice cream soda tickles my nose, it makes me laugh. Maybe it makes God laugh too. What makes you cry or laugh? What do you think would make God cry or laugh? Yesterday, our class played kickball. I fell while running to first base and scraped my knee. It hurt. The school nurse put a bandage over the scrape. In a few days, it was all better. Last month, my best friend had to move away. I was sad. I hurt inside. My dad said we can visit in the summer and we can write letters or call each other on the telephone when we miss each other a lot. What Dad said made me feel better, but when I think of my best friend far away, it still hurt a little. I wonder if God hurts and what might help God feel better. Maybe I could be God's friend. What do you think makes God hurt? How can you be God's friend? My class went on a hike the other day. We climbed to the top of a mountain and I shouted, "Hello!" And I heard a voice call back, "Hello!" It sounded just like my voice, only far away. My teacher said the sound I heard was an echo. It was fun to hear our own voices. We kept calling out and the sound from space kept calling back. I wonder what God's voice sounds like. Is it deep and gruff? Is it soft and gentle? Is it loud or quiet? I think God keeps calling out, and maybe we are the sound that calls back. Maybe people are God's echo. How are you God's echo? What does God call us to do? My mom and I went shopping in the city. There in the middle of the crowded department store was a little boy. He was alone and crying. My mom held his hands in hers and took him to the clerk who worked at the store. The clerk made an announcement over the loudspeaker saying that a little boy was lost. Before long, his mom came and gave him a great big hug. My mom hugged me too. I'm not sure why. One of the things I like about my mom is her hands. When I was just a baby, my mom says her hands rocked the cradle so I wouldn't cry. I wonder if God's hands rock the world. How can your hands help God's hands? I have lots of things that belong to me. They're mine, and I don't like anyone messing with them. Sometimes I think God belongs to me. When I'm surprised or frightened, I say, "My God." But then I think, no one can own God. God doesn't belong to anyone. We belong to God. Are there times when you feel like you don't belong? I wonder if God has a big lap to curl up in, just like my mom's, and strong arms just like Dad's to lift me up and catch me when I fall. I wonder if God has strong hands to hold me tight, just like my mom's, and big shoulders, just like my dad's, to carry me when I'm tired. What makes you feel safe and warm and loved? Sometimes I like to play hide and seek with my friends. We count to 10 and then start looking, but today my friends got tired of looking and went away before they found me. I felt very lonely. On Monday, I broke my mom's vase. I was scared. I hid behind the large sofa in our living room. Mom came home. I was glad when she found me. I felt lonely all by myself. Sometimes I think God hides and we don't look for God because we are too busy or too afraid. God must feel terribly lonely then too. Where would you look for God? When the wind blows, warm, making grass, trees, and flowers dance, it makes my hair brush against my face. I think the wind is God's breath moving through the world, making it come alive. I think that God's breath moves through me too. That makes me special, having a little bit of God inside me. That makes everyone special, having God's breath inside them. We can make words and music with God's breath. What kind of words and music does God's breath make? Walking home this afternoon, I heard the wind whistle, a dog bark, a bird chirp, a baby cry. All these sounds, some soft, some loud, they are God's song. If you sang a song to God, what would you sing? When I go to bed at night, I sleep on cool cotton sheets. I hold a soft, furry teddy bear very close. My mom gives me a big kiss and her cheeks feel warm and soft, and my dad gives me a big hug and his face feels scratchy but good. All these good feelings I think are God's touch. What does God's touch feel like to you? How can you help God touch the world? The world revolves around the sun. The planets spin far out in space. Stars sparkle and meteors shoot out light through the sky. I think they are God's dance, God's way of keeping the world turning. When I help a friend, when I make someone smile, I think I am part of God's dance. Can you dance God's dance? What would it look like? My tooth fell out last night. My parents said it was in order to make room for my new one. I didn't really like losing it, even though I found $1 under my pillow in its place. I wonder if the trees mind losing their leaves in the fall, or if the snow minds when it melts to make room for spring. I think God paints the leaves bright colors in the fall and makes the sun warm in the spring, because God likes changes. God likes the world to grow. How are you changing? How are you growing? Sometimes I think God is just like my dad. When he holds the back seat of my new 2-wheel bicycle just long enough for me to catch my balance, then he lets go and I ride all by myself. But it's nice to know he's running right alongside me. Sometimes I think God is just like my mom, when she helps me look both ways in crossing the street, but then lets me go all by myself. But it's nice to know she's still watching me at the corner. What makes you feel big enough to do something all by yourself for the very first time? My friend is great at math. She always gets 100 on her test. My brother is captain of his baseball team. He always gets home runs. Sometimes when I get lots of red X's all over my math paper, I think I'd like to be just like my friend. When I get up to bat and strike out, I think I'd like to be just like my big brother. But I think I enjoy gymnastics. I can do one-handed cartwheels. I'm glad to be me. Perhaps God gave each of us a special gift that makes us different from anyone else. And when we share that gift, God is happy. What is your gift? How do you share your gift? Today our school went for a hike. The sky looked like a lemon meringue pie, and the fields of flowers seemed like layers of orange, red, and purple jelly beans. The vines looked just like a giant jump rope, and the hills like a big slippery slide. The branches of the trees made a fantastic jungle gym. I wonder if God likes lemon meringue pie and jelly beans just like me. Sometimes my parents tell me to eat more green vegetables and fewer jelly beans. Maybe they're right, but I still like the pink lemonade jelly beans the best. I wonder if God likes to play. Sometimes grown-ups don't want to play because they are too busy or too tired. I think that makes God sad. I think God likes me to play. Who is in your favorite playground? How do you play in God's playground? In September, a new boy came to school. During recess, nobody picked him for the soccer team. At lunch, he ate all by himself. What I remember most about him were his eyes. They looked sad. My teacher had us do a mural one day, and the new boy helped me draw a lion. He is a great artist. Maybe we will be friends. My teacher watched us working together. What I remember most about my teacher were eyes. They looked happy. I wonder if God has eyes. If so, they must be just like my teachers. They see when people are sad or happy. If you saw the world through God's eyes, what would you see? Sometimes, on a bright day, when I close my eyes real tight, I see all kinds of colors, green and purple and red and blue. I think these are just like God's colors. I know God's colors are in me too, and I can paint with God's paintbrush.